Halo Infinite cannot be the masterpiece that you want it to be. I've said it. There we go. Let's discuss it.
Ultimate Halo.
Okay, so this is kind of a video that I've been putting off making partially because a lot of the content creators out there have covered a lot of the bases which I want to discuss, and I agree with mainly all the sentiment that's going around. So for those of you who need a bit of context, this developer did used to work at 343 Industries, and he was an artist on the Halo Infinite, and he talks about various things such as crunch, cut content, and other elements regarding development and the slipspace engine. But to be honest with you, the problem with all of this is it was translated from Mandarin, and it was very selectively chosen in terms of what they wanted to translate, so there was a lot of things out of context basically. He came out and made a video which will be in the description talking about his time on the game and clarifying a lot of the statements that were misconstrued. This is a problem in the gaming media. Look, the gaming media is after clicks, they want people to read their articles, look at ads on their websites and make money. It's their bottom line. But it is a kind of scummy thing to do. But we're not here to necessarily talk about those exact details, but I do want to cover some slight bits along the way. One of the things that's referred to is crunch. Now that was probably one of the bigger things that was taken out of context, and crunch is like a really harsh, naughty word in the gaming community these days. And to be honest with you, crunch is always going to be a thing to some extent within the games industry. It's such a tough industry to build games, to make them work, to make them successful, and also people do it out of their own time as well. Sometimes people get super passionate about projects. They will crunch voluntarily to get a project out of the door and do well, especially those in junior positions who are working really hard, who want to make an impression in the industry. Video games are also really complex. They take so many people. I've said this in about a million videos. Coders, artists, sound designers, level designers, graphics designers, people, story writers, franchise writers, whatever, you know it. They've got everything. Every discipline you could almost imagine, it's there. He also talks about cuts. Now, cuts are 100,000, 10 million% always going to be a thing in any video game that's ever existed on this planet. I mean, I can think about every single Halo game has had some major cuts. Bungie have been very open in the past about some of the cool things they've had to cut. This is for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's cut at conceptual stage. You might want something initially, it might look good on paper, but when it gets to the reality of it, sometimes it's hard. Some things are developed quite far down the line, modeled out and scripted and all this other kind of stuff, and have to be cut maybe because there's some technical difficulties about it, or the game just doesn't have the scope or the time required to make sure this thing is a priority. Some things get cut just because there's no time and you need to focus on the things that really matter more than that. It's a priority list at the end of the day. But ultimately, no pun intended, this game cannot be the masterpiece you want it to be. We all want it to be a masterpiece, but there's so many reasons that are obstructing this game from ever being that at all. This starts initially from your expectations of the game. We all get in the hype train of Halo coming out, and Halo, it's the new Halo, it's the next big thing, and you got PR words like the biggest Halo game yet. And on some fronts it probably is, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the best. But that's also an expectation side of things. We get so hyped, and then when something comes out, it's really difficult for any medium to reach those expectations that they set for you. The next thing is that this community is very diverse. There are so many people who like so many different things. It will always be impossible for 343 to do everything right, because if you like Sprint, it might be in the game. And if it's not, you're going to be disappointed, and vice versa. They'll never win, and they'll never strike that balance fully to its entirety. This is a good example, and I think this is probably one of the things that 343 might struggle with Halo Infinite. Now, as we've seen, there are stuff like equipment, rather than the stuff we've seen in Halo 5 with the Spartan abilities. These Spartan abilities are loved by some, despised by others. Now, this is one thing 343 seem to be tackling well. From the stuff we've seen so far, it's looking like a fun game, but it's really hard to sort of differentiate whether fans are going to like the equipment stuff. Time will tell. So 343 need to go back to basics, just get all the solid things right, and the best we can hope for as a community is an all-round Halo game. Doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean there won't be things you dislike about it. It doesn't mean that some features might not work, might not be there at launch. Who knows? Who knows how this game's truly going to play out? But honestly, We really need to set our expectations that this is going to be a good Halo game. And whilst the media might be out to get Halo Infinite because there's zero news about it, it's still worth bearing in mind that this game will probably be a great game. A lot of the things 343 are doing are really looking good. There's some real progress this game is making, but we just need to sort of temper our expectations. And then if you've got low expectations and it's better than you expected, that's nothing but a good thing. So no, this game's not going to be the masterpiece that you or I want. Is it going to be a fantastic game? You know what? I'm almost certain of it, personally. It's hard to tell. I want to see what's going to happen with the story. The story is such a huge thing with me, but we will see. But let me know in the comment section down below, what are your expectations for this game? Do you truly believe it's going to be the greatest Halo game we've had for a long time? Or are you kind of like level-headed about it? You wait to see what happens. So once again, subscribe to Ultimate Halo. We're nearly at 100,000 subscribers, so your support is immense. And my name is Jack Fletcher, and I will see you next time on the one and the only Ultimate Halo.
Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.